Man, what a different world now. If you think back, I mean, if you think back to what we were told 700 years or so was like, the world was so much smaller. You probably just lived in your town, and I mean, how would you even get across to the other side of the country or whatever it was at that time, you know? I mean, not America, because America's a young country. We've only been around for a few hundred years, but I mean, gosh, did everyone just get around on boats and horseback or something like that? I mean, those were the faster ways of getting around, at least. No airplanes, no cars. Just imagine how much smaller the world would be if you could never, if it just took forever to get anywhere, you know? I mean, it's almost village-like. I feel like having horseback as a mode of transportation is still so much closer to living in the village era of humanity than the era that we live in now, where we have cars and we have planes. And not too long after cars and planes, I feel like we had the internet that brought a whole other level of connectivity. Yeah, it's crazy. That kind of circles into the whole idea about just one person being the right person for you. Well, now you could meet anybody. You can just fly somewhere, and most people speak English. I mean, not everywhere, but it's the most commonly spoken language, is my point. Um, yeah, there's just so many people, and there's so many. I mean, most of the people you meet, you probably don't know, right? It didn't used to be like that. Most of the people that you saw probably lived in your village or your town or your general area, but now you just see new people all the time everywhere, and maybe you never talk to them. Or maybe you do and you'll never see them again. It's kind of weird. But that's how it is. I had a friend I was talking to. Maybe he's watching this podcast, but was it him? I don't know. If it's you, you know it's you, and maybe you should text me. um, Talking about how like humans were never meant to be as connected as we were, or as we are now, or be exposed to as many social circumstances as we are now. And I get that, but we also came to the same agreement in the conversation that humans, well, it's almost as if this wouldn't have happened if it wasn't meant to happen, right? Because I think the desire to connect is inherently very deep in just being human. You want to connect. Humans had the desire to create language, and now we use language to communicate, and now we have the internet to communicate. Like, it's just our desire to be able to communicate is so strong. It's one of the primary characteristics of being human, I would say, but also just being a living organism. Every life form seems to find some way of communicating, whether it's some kind of hormonal transaction or something like that that communicates some kind of message and a response, to animals and their weird little dances and mating calls and all that stuff. I mean, I suppose that stuff is more basic, but even on a primal level, the desire or maybe the need to communicate is so important. But I think with humans, we're kind of obsessed with it. So, yeah. I mean, look at me. I'm just talking to myself into a microphone, and it feels like I'm not, because I have this idea that other people are going to listen or something. And I suppose some people will. But yeah, what's wrong with just talking to yourself also? I've had that thought. What's wrong with just talking to yourself? You got to be there for yourself, right? People say that.